All right, y'all, we are back with another video. I definitely had to bring y'all this because JD Vance just dropped an absolute bombshell. I mean, a master class of what he just did, going off on these Democrats, pretty much saying they need to be arrested. Not only that, he didn't even hold back when it came to like him talking about the Epstein list. He said, hey, why is all these Democrats now so worried about, Epstein? And the reason why is simple, because we know they think Donald Trump got something to do with it. We know that, but none of these Democrats is talking about Bill Clinton, visiting that island over 28 times, being on a wall in a, in a picture, wearing a dress. They don't want to talk about Bill Clinton. When they have interviews with Hillary Clinton, they never ask her, hey, why is your husband, what you think about your husband being on the island with over 28 times? They never ask these people this. But JD Vance is willing to hold all these people accountable. Because like I said, not even President Trump was ready for what JD Vance just did. It was an absolute masterclass. JD Vance, I'm telling you right now, I don't see a Democrat, whether you got AOC, Jasmine Crockett, any of these Democrats, which one of them it can even have a chance with JD Vance in 2028? I don't see any of them being able to beat him unless they try to cheat. But that right there is not going to happen. That is not going to happen. And not only that, last but not least, we're going to see the NBC host absolutely goes off on JB Pritzker over gerrymandering. And then Kathy Hochul tries to follow up and do the same thing and get exposed. So like I said, make sure y'all please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Shout out to everybody showing so much support. And shout out to the ones that always watches their entire video and let me know in the comment section that you did stay to the end, because it definitely helps get the video out there. So I appreciate all of you that let me know that you did watch the entire video, and the ones that come straight in and hit that like button for me. That's very, very important as well. So if you haven't hit that like button, please stop what you're doing right now. Please hit that like button for me. It really, really helps out a lot. And without further ado, let's go ahead and dive straight into this. So check this out about Benny Johnson. He said, everybody stop what you're doing and watch this. Vice President JD Vance just delivered a masterclass and exposed how Democrats rig elections. Check this out right here, y'all.
Yeah, so another crazy thing that I had no idea about, but everybody, even Democrats actually admit this, that the census in 2020 had a major statistical error. And what that meant is that you actually undercounted a few states that are Republican, like Florida and Ohio. You overcounted some blue states. And so what I understand, if you actually did the census anew right now, you would have 10 additional Republican seats and 9 fewer Democrat seats. And really what we're living with, Maria, is the consequence of 40 years of institutional control in the Democratic Party. These guys have fought very dirty for a very long time. Yep. And they haven't just won elections and enacted laws that we may not agree with. They have tried to rig the game for Democrats and against Republicans. And thankfully, under President Trump's leadership, you finally see some spine. You finally see some backbone in the Republican Party to fight back against these very aggressive Democratic dirty tricks. But the only way for us to do it is to actually go and do the hard work to reset the scales a little bit. What we want to do is redo the census, but importantly, we want to redistrict some of these red states, and we want to make the congressional apportionment fair in this country. Again, you cannot do it unless Republicans actually take some very decisive action in the months to come. We think they will, and we're obviously supporting them every step of the way.
But do you worry that as Republicans do that, the Democrat blue states are going to do the same thing, and then you'll have redistricting in California, New Jersey, and so on?
Maria, there's just not a whole lot of juice left out of that lemon. The Democrats have already gone as far as they possibly can. Let me give you a crazy statistic. So I believe that it's in New Jersey, Illinois.
And we done seen how these Democrats already flew to Illinois. These people are just sick. They think they can just get away with anything. All they've been doing their entire time is cheating. Never cared about the American people. Not at all. JD Vance, President Trump, cares about the American people. He cares about peace. Democrats don't.
Illinois, New York, California, and there's one other Democrat state where you take those 5 states, you have a large number of Democrat representatives. But here's the crazy statistic. President Trump won 43% of those 5 states, And Democrats have something like 85% of the representatives out of those states. You cannot gerrymander these far left states anymore. And that's the whole point. We have unilaterally disarmed in the Republican Party. We have said to the Democrats, if you want to rig the game in your favor in blue states, go ahead. We're going to do nothing to fight back against it. That's crazy. It makes it harder for us to pass our agenda. It makes it harder for us to win elections. And most importantly, it gives Democrats this ability to run roughshod over the country without any pushback from the American people. The democratic system in this country is broken because who you vote for doesn't necessarily get reflected in who your representatives are. We're just trying to rebalance the scales and, frankly, push back against a very unfair system created by the Democrats.
Exactly. And then you can just see how, J.D. Vance is just exposing the Democrats for the clowns they is. Like I said, we know that they are cheaters. We know that. They get on TV every day attacking President Trump. They are so mad because J.D. Vance and President Trump is winning. That's what it is. They have nothing else to talk about. Now you got Jasmine Crockett calling Donald Trump names and all of this. You got these Democrats, like I said, constantly going on TV lying about this man every single day. Why? Because he's doing a great job. In the little time that President Trump has been in office right now, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris didn't do anything but just destroy our country. That's all they did. Now, let's check out this next clip about J.D. Vance speaking on, President Trump meeting with Putin in Alaska. So even J.D. Vance posted this on Twitter, said President Trump is close to securing the most significant diplomatic accomplishment in my lifetime. And how he's doing it is by focusing on peace and bringing an end to the conflict. America is lucky to have this kind of bold leadership at such a pivotal moment in world history. Check this out, y'all.
Let me move on to foreign policy because President Trump is expected to meet with Vladimir Putin at some point, perhaps in the coming week. What are you expecting?
Well, first of all, I've got to give the president a huge amount of credit here, Maria, because this is a major breakthrough for American diplomacy. If you go back, this war's been going on for over 3 years at this point, well over 1 million Russians and Ukrainian dead soldiers. And as the president says, the numbers are probably much higher than the official tally indicates. There has been no substantial breakthrough. And for 6 months, the president himself, he's asked me, he's asked Secretary Rubio, of course, Steve Witkoff. We have been aggressively working, trying to break the logjam. One of the most important logjams is that.
And then y'all see that President Trump seeks peace deal between Ukraine and Russia. When you ever see Joe Biden or Kamala Harris try to seek a peace deal? They don't. I mean, these people was just sitting in there destroying this country, leaving a border open so illegal aliens can just come in here and terrorize and just hurt American people just like they did. That's all they did. Set up in there and just lied. Didn't do anything for us, and then turn around and, like I said, lied about Joe Biden's health the entire time. It is just crazy. That's the reason why I said, man, J.D. Vance has a bright future, and I can see him as president in 2028. Once President Trump's term is up, I can see J.D. Vance taking over. That's the reason why I said at first that I don't see who they got. Gavin Newsom, AOC, Bernie Sanders. Who do they got that's gonna beat J.D. Vance? J.D. Vance is too smart for all of them. They are dumb. They don't know what they're doing, what they're talking about. All they know is they just wake up with Trump derangement syndrome. That's all they wake up with. Trump derangement syndrome every single day.
Vladimir Putin said that he would never sit down with Zelensky, the head of Ukraine, and the president has now got that to change. We're at a point now where we're now trying to figure out, frankly, scheduling and things like that around when these three leaders could sit down and discuss an end to this conflict. Now, what do I think is ultimately going to come out of this? Look, it's actually very simple. If you take where the current line of contact between Russia and Ukraine is, we're going to try to find some negotiated settlement that the Ukrainians and the Russians can live with, where they can live in relative peace, where the killing stops. It's not going to make anybody super happy. Both the Russians and the Ukrainians probably at the end of the day are going to be unhappy with it. But I don't think you can actually sit down and have this negotiation absent the leadership of Donald J. Trump. And the president said this to me today privately, said, look, maybe this works out, maybe it doesn't, but it's worth the effort. It's worth trying, and we're going to keep on using the diplomatic.
I mean, with President Trump even giving it a try, to seek a peace deal, that right there is very telling. It just go to show you that President Trump just want peace, man. He don't want no wars. Don't want the killings to stop. He just want peace. Like JD Vance just said, I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm going to give it a try, because some people there'll be like, well, it ain't gonna work, and I'm not even gonna worry about it. But President Trump is willing to say, I'm still gonna give it a chance. You just never know what can come out of this, and it might just work. So that's why I said, man, salute to President Trump, man.
Influence of the President of the United States to accomplish an end to this conflict. And Maria, you know this, but other people may not. If you look at the president's foreign policy accomplishments, if you look at Congo, Rwanda, a war that went on for 30 years, killed 6 million people. Yep. If you look at the number of hostages in Israel, in Gaza, who have been released and gone back to their families. If you look at Malaysia, Cambodia, you look at all of these terrible conflicts, the president has shown a willingness to be the president of peace. It's a big, big testament to the quality of American leadership. And it's an amazing thing to have a president who's working to stop the killing when you've had for so many generations presidents who didn't care about bringing peace to these very conflict-torn regions of the world. It's something I think all Americans should be proud of, whatever their political party.
Man, salute to J.D. Vance. He said no matter what your political party, you should be happy. But, of course, Democrats, anything that President Trump have success in, they want to downplay it. That's all they do. They just want to downplay every single thing. Now, J.D. Vance goes on to speak on the Russia situation and pretty much saying, hey, I want to see some indictments, and we all want to see indictments. I mean, especially with that pencil neck, watermelon head Adam Schiff. Him, along with Comey, Brennan, all of them need to be in prison. That's exactly where they need to be at. And like I said, that pencil neck Adam Schiff ran for years, going on ABC. I think came on Fox News talking to Tucker Carlson one time, pushing this Russia hoax. Still to this day, a lot of these Democrats are still pushing the same thing. These people are just straight liars. But check out what J.D. Vance just said.
Meanwhile, we're still waiting for accountability on the whole Russia collusion made-up story.
Yes.
Now that DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, has released all of those classified documents, we're actually seeing who was behind all of this. Do you want to see indictments?
I absolutely want to see indictments, Maria. Look, of course, you've got to have the law follow the facts here. You don't just indict people to indict people. You indict people because they broke the law. But if you look at what Tulsi and Kash Patel have revealed in the last couple of weeks, I don't know how anybody can look at that and say that there wasn't aggressive violations of the law. What they basically did is they defrauded the American people in order to take Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign talking points and turn them into intelligence.
And that's what I was saying, though. That's the thing. Even Hillary Clinton, so when they went back to this point about Donald Trump didn't accept the 2020 election, Hillary Clinton didn't accept the fact that she lost in 2016. She didn't accept the fact that she lost. What did she do afterwards? Instead of, saying, hey, President Trump, you won fair and square, she ran with the Russia hoax. Oh, Russia helped Donald Trump win. That's the only reason I lost. But yet, Russia was the one withholding information on Hillary Clinton's health that they didn't want to put out because they knew that I guess they feel like if they would have put out, what was wrong with her at the time, that she would have lost, but she lost anyway. So that was whole information about Hillary Clinton, not President Trump. So it was all a lie. Barack Obama started all of this. That pencil neck Adam Schiff ran with it. And so is Comey and Brennan and all of them. And not one time did you see, Barack Obama go after Hillary Clinton for over those emails. Never did anything to her. These people are sick, man.
By defrauding the American people, defrauding the intelligence agencies, lying about what the intel said, they would take something that supported a Hillary Clinton campaign talking point and they would overemphasize it and exaggerate it. They took anything that actually contradicted that narrative and they buried it deep. And through that, they actually laundered Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign talking points through the American intelligence services. That's a violation of the people's trust. That's a violation of what our intelligence services should be doing, and I absolutely think they broke the law, and you're going to see a lot of people get indicted for that. Here's the thing that should really bother the American people. What do you want our intelligence community to be doing? I want them to be catching bad guys. I want them to be making sure that terrorists aren't going to kill innocent American civilians. I don't want them laundering Hillary Clinton's campaign talking points into the American media and giving them this air of legitimacy. It is sick. And it's disgusting. It hurt the intelligence community.
I agree.
It hurt the American people, and it hurt the first Trump administration. We've got to have consequences for it, or we're just going to see the same play repeated again.
And JD Vance is definitely right. We got to see it got to be some consequences, because if it ain't no arrest made or something done, it's going to happen again, especially if these people get in power, because they're going to be like, well, we got away with it. They said they was going to do this, and they never did anything. And they'll try to do it again if they was to ever get back in office. And I hope that never happens, that they don't never get back in the White House. But something has to be done. So I agree with JD Vance 100% on that. Now, it brings to this one right here where he pretty much, JD Vance goes off on these Democrats. Now all of a sudden they worried about Epstein, but they wasn't at first. So, because if they was so worried about Epstein, why didn't they say anything when Joe Biden and Kamala Harris was in office? Why they never mentioned anything about Epstein then? Then Barack Obama had 2 terms. Why they didn't say anything about Epstein then? So now all of a sudden, listen what J.D. Vance had to say about these Democrats. All of a sudden now, they want to hear about, Jeffrey Epstein.
Can you give us some clarity on this meeting that is reportedly happening or happened last night at the White House about the Epstein files and how you're communicating the Epstein story?
So I've seen so many different fake reports about this. So let me set the record straight. There was no meeting at my house last night. There just wasn't.
Was there a meeting at the White House?
We did meet at the White House yesterday, but not at the time that they said that we were going to meet, and not about the subject that they said that we were going to meet about. We have a great FBI director and a great Department of Justice lead, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and we met to talk about how to ensure we have justice for the American people. We actually didn't talk about the Epstein issue at all. That was never meant to be the subject of the meeting. And it's one of those things where I guess somebody leaked a calendar entry maybe, and then people assumed that it must have been about Epstein, even though it had nothing to do with Epstein. On the Epstein issue, what the president has said very clearly, because we've had other meetings about that, is that he wants us to be fully transparent and he wants the credible information out there. So we're working to compile the thousands and thousands of documents that are out there for full transparency. But I have to say, Maria, I laugh at the Democrats who are now all of a sudden so interested in the Epstein files. For 4 years, Joe Biden and the Democrats did absolutely nothing about this story. We know that Jeffrey Epstein had a lot of connections with left-wing politicians and left-wing billionaires.
Yep.
And now President Trump has demanded full transparency from this, and yet somehow the Democrats are attacking him and not the Biden administration, which did nothing for 4 years.
Was it the right move?
I said, what I just say? So Biden them didn't do anything for 4 years, didn't bring up anything about Epstein. Democrats weren't even worried about it because they were so worried about it, they would have said something then, but they think it got something to do with Trump. So that's why they want to see it. I told you, these people are just sick. They are liars. The hypocrisy.
For Comer to send subpoenas to the Clintons.
It absolutely was, and it drives home how, while the Democrats have tried to make this Epstein thing about anything but the fact that Democrat billionaires and Democrat political leaders went to Epstein Island all the time. Who knows what they did, but it's totally reasonable to ask these questions. What you saw in the House's subpoena is they are trying to investigate all of the things related to this particular case. I know a lot of Americans want answers. I certainly want answers. And I think James Comer and the team of the House, they're doing the right thing. And of course, we know that Clinton, or allegedly he went to the island 26 times, 28 times. Totally appropriate for Comer to be asking what was going on at that island.
Let me get your quick take on growth and this moment in time that we're at.
And that's what I'm talking about right there. So the Clinton has been subpoenaed. We shall see exactly what's going to happen with that. And once again, man, salute to J.D. Vance. I mean, like I said before, the man has a bright future, says all the right things because he knows what to say. Man, salute to J.D. Vance. Now, I want to turn it over to this clip right here, because this right here kind of shocked me. So check this out by Eric Dollar. He said, wow, NBC's Christian worker of all people called out J.B. Pritzker right to his face on how badly gerrymandered Illinois is. He had absolutely nothing to say in response. Check this out.
Every major group that grades the fairness of congressional maps gives your state an F. Common Cause, a nonpartisan government watchdog, even says your map, and I'm going to quote, represents a nearly perfect model for everything that can go wrong with redistricting. And I guess the question is, you talk about preserving democracy. How do you preserve democracy if you're using the same tactics that you've criticized Texas Republicans for?
There you go.
But as I say, what they're talking about is a distraction.
Oh,
the reality is that the violation of people's voting rights is what Texas is attempting to do. That's what's wrong with their efforts right now. And the fact that the president of the United States knows it and nevertheless is asking them to do it. That is what's wrong with what we're seeing right now. Democracy is...
Wow. This dude right here, JB, he is a clown. And not only that, because like I said, it kind of shocked me that, you know, she asked him that and pretty much called him out to his face. But guess who tried it next? Look at this right here. Holy crap. After Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker got embarrassed for gerrymandering this morning, New York Governor Kathy Hochul got absolutely grilled for trying to do the same thing. So now they all are trying to do the same thing. And Kathy Hochul, here she go.
Here's how National Review summarized it. They said it was only 3 years ago that New York's Democratic legislature drew up a map so brazenly contemptuous of basic rules that govern a district's contiguousness that the state's Democrat-dominated Court of Appeals threw it out. The New York Times at the time called those maps comically contorted. That's their quote. So your state's highest court at the time, all the judges appointed by Democratic governors, they threw the maps out. So fair to say Democrats have done what they're now accusing Republicans of doing.
No, we followed the rules. We do it every 10 years. We base it on census.
But the court said you didn't follow the rules.
Well, we did follow the rules.
So the court was wrong?
Well,
this woman is a liar, man. See, this is the people you dealing with in the Democrat Party. I mean, this is just crazy. You call the Republicans out for doing something like, and then you do it. This is crazy. So like I said, y'all get in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think about all of this. And like I said, once again, man, these Democrats are done. You heard what J.D. Vance had to say about them. And hopefully we start getting some arrests. And hopefully they start with that pencil neck Adam Schiff, because he's still running around here running his mouth. So like I said, thank you all for watching. Get in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think about this. And I'll catch y'all in the next one.